3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth Whaleshare's curation event. To recap for the unfamiliar, we have 5 curators. Each will curate 2 posts each. That means 10 posts, each receiving 25 whale votes. And in addition, if you're listening in, you will get 5 Whaleshares from the very generous Acrid. Now I feel we've got some momentum this week. We've been going for a while, so I've decided to add a new segment, which is called DJ Chatterbox. So what's going to happen is halfway through, after we've each done one post, we'll have a short pause, and Cubby will be given a subject, which she is then going to talk about for 1 minute. She's going to talk in a special way, so it will be a subject she's unfamiliar with. She will not pause, she will not hesitate, she will not repeat what she says, and she'll be allowed to breathe just, but not very loudly. And we will judge her, maybe marks out of 10, for how much chatterbox she is.
Does Cubby know about this?
Yes, no, Cubby knows about it.
I do now.
Anyway, without further ado, I think because we've had a bit of a pause, we should get into the first post, which I think Freedom normally goes first, so we'll kick you off.
No, I did go first last week, but I'm happy to go first this week. I don't mind. Okay, I will get my post. Bear with me. So there it is. It's by a very interesting character, actually, and this post, I think, pretty deep but very sincere, because I think we all have comfort zones, and I think we need to push ourselves sometimes out of those comfort zones. And I know there's been a few posts on Steemit recently about comfort zones. Malos, can you not just bear with me? I'm going to delete that. Malos, please don't. Thank you, whoever did that. Okay, so sorry about the interruption there. Basically, we all have our comfort zones, and sometimes it really is very difficult to push ourselves out of those comfort zones. But we really should be doing that sometimes. And this is an excellent article where I think Delights, which is her name, has done that, and she has written, I think, from the heart. It's a pretty long post, but there's a lot of stuff in there that I think a lot of people will benefit from. I think you can learn from this post, is what I'm saying. I think it's even looking at that picture, she's behind the bars, it's black and white, but she's maybe still in her comfort zone, but you can see she's grabbing hold of those bars, she's maybe pushing those bars away, who knows? But she's at least prepared to confront herself, I think, because some people just aren't prepared to do that, but she is prepared to do that, and she's doing that with this post. And I think this can help others as well, because there's some really good stuff in there. And very importantly, halfway through the post, she decides to list kind of a few tips, if you like, some advice on how you can push that comfort zone and try and avoid these constructs that we build for ourselves, these psychological constructs that we build for ourselves that can sometimes inhibit us or limit us. And that's really what she's talking about. And do you know what, those tips she's put in halfway through the post, I think that they've been really well thought out. I think they can benefit a lot of people. And like she's put, her first tip is taking that first step. And I think that's always a big one, to push yourself out of a comfort zone, is to take that first step. You've really got to do it. That's probably the most difficult part of it all. But it's a great post. I hope to see a lot more from her. Her reputation is only 46. I assume she's very new, but she's very well. She's presented it very well. She's very good at writing. And I think that post deserves more than $1.90. So that's my first post.
Brilliant. Hey, did you follow any of the steps that she did at the end? She makes 5 suggestions on, I've just read, we can do in our everyday life. So I was wondering if you'd done any of them.
I have indeed. I have indeed. I mean, taking that first step, I think, as I say, is the big one. I suppose for me, in my personal journey, so to speak, would be maybe moving away from hometown. That was quite a big first step for me, because I got so used to my hometown. That was a real kind of comfort zone, if you like. So I left my hometown, and that was the first step of then moving on to different towns and cities and ending up in London. That one, but also getting into a new environment. I mean, that's key to a lot of things. And as I say, moving away from your hometown to a new city or whatever is a new environment. So yeah, I think a lot of that article resonated with me.
I love the way that she put it together too. It's a long article, but you don't feel overwhelmed with all these long texts because she broke it up really nicely, and all her main points are in bulletin. So you can kind of skim it and get a general idea, read what applies to you, and then kind of go back and read the whole thing without feeling like you missed anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The way she's written it is really well. And I think she's going to do really, really well on Steemit, because if this is one of her earlier posts, and I think it is, then I think she's going to be pretty successful on Steemit. I hope she carries on writing these kind of posts, because I think I think she's got a lot to contribute in this area, and her writing style is really nice.
I agree. You can tell that she put some time into this, and it looks like it comes from personal experience, which always makes the biggest difference when writing. And so I think it resonated with you, and I think it'll resonate with a lot more. And the end of the year is coming, so people always make, New Year's resolutions, and they want to make all these changes. And so it's important for when they're going through all these emotions that they take these other things into consideration.
Yeah, it's really hard to get out. Oh, sorry. It's really
No, go
hard.
ahead.
It's really hard to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, each of us has been living, and each of us at least once in our lives realizes that we are stuck somehow, and then to get over it, that's the first step, and then those little things can help a lot.
Yeah, I think once you've got that first step out of the way, the others are a bit easier. But yeah, absolutely.
Good. So an angle I forgot to mention before is, if you're listening to this and would like some extra curation, if you get your upvote on this, you will get extra curation from when the whale votes hit it. That's another way you can benefit from here. Also, a thing I forgot to say about the DJ Chatterbox feature is it would actually be interesting if you message me with your suggestions of what you would like me to talk about, and then I will give a small prize in Whaleshares, very small prize in Whaleshares, to the person who sends the one that I select. I think I'll give you 10.
Be kind, folks, all right?
No way.
So to recap, if you want me to talk about something in particular for a minute straight, with no pause, no hesitation, then message me, and if I choose that one, you will get 10 Whaleshares. Right, Cubby, should we go on to your post?
And what happens if I don't survive this chatter thing?
I'm trying to think of a penalty. What can we do?
Penalty? I feel like I should be awarded a prize.
Okay, so this is the first week. So what we will do is we'll mark you out of 10.
We'll disown you.
next week-
Did you see what Ackard
next week-
said?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll shun you. Completely shun you.
Unbelievable. And thank you, Daladu, for joining us. And thank you, Ackard, for threatening to disown me. I really thought we had a thing going there, but I see where your alliance lies. I've posted in the chat for you guys this hilarious post. And it's only hilarious because of the picture. The rest of the content isn't necessarily humorous, but it's actually a post about philosophy. And it goes in deeper about curiosity and the development of curiosity. And it's one of those posts that I wouldn't say that it's long, but it's not a short one that you can quickly read, but you can kind of skim over it now as you look at it. There are a couple of videos. I myself haven't been able to watch the videos, but from what I've read, and I found it fascinating of how he addresses the point of asking a question, which is ironic because y'all will be giving me a question or a topic to go about. And he makes a point of there are two types of questions that can be asked. And one is to further your knowledge or gain better understanding. And another one is more in depth of a fundamental principle that you are seeking. And that your brain is actually looking for a position of security in which to protect. So he says interesting things like that of our consciousness, looking for answers and how our mind and our brain functions in looking for answers and asking questions and continuously communicate knowledge in the areas of expertise to create a foundation to stand on. And I found that was fascinating that there's questions that you ask to gain understanding, and there's questions that you ask to establish a foundation. And I love asking questions, but I never thought of it like that, but it makes so much sense when you think about it, because depending on the conversation and where that leads, when you ask a question, sometimes you're engaged in the conversation in the story that where you want to learn more. Other times, if you are listening to a speaker or some sort of religious belief, you are trying to build a foundation in order to live your life and give it more purpose, which is not necessarily the way he leads the conversation, but that's where I took it for, because I'm a Christian and I am a very devout one, where building a foundation on my Christian belief and asking questions so that is a strong foundation for wisdom and discernment resonates deeply with me. So I loved his perspective on it. I loved the way he explained the asking minds rest on two pillars: the habit that gives stability and the courage to change the foundations. So he says a lot of really fun, fundamental things like that. And he's actually has a beautiful signature, which I thought as well. And I couldn't believe before I had upvoted, it made less than $10 on it. I was like, this is amazing. I even sent this to my philosophy friend, and I was like, have you read this guy? Because I think you'll really enjoy him. And he's only been on the platform since October. So I'm curious to see what else he does. I'm glad that I chose this. And he just recently posted this about 15 hours ago. And so I didn't even get to, maybe I did invite him onto the show tonight, but I did it recently. So check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are. I don't know if he mentioned it, but anyone who leaves comments, Acrid will go back and upvote it as well. So you're encouraged to read the post and leave your thoughts and help encourage another fellow Steamian.
Yeah, this is a very deep post. I'm just reading it. Gosh, it's. I don't know. Is he? Do you know what his profession is?
Right? you want to
He's
wonder.
like the star.
I know.
Sorry.
He's the star of every week now.
Yeah, I've seen him before. I think we've presented him before. One of us has, but this is pretty deep. Very, very
I think I
interesting.
presented him last week.
Oh, okay. I thought I'd seen him before somewhere. But gosh, for me, it's gonna take probably a couple of reads for a lot of this to sink in. But it is very fascinating and very well written. This guy's a very intelligent guy.
Yeah, I was impressed, and I'm glad I fell upon it, and I was amazed. And I haven't even gone back to watch the videos. One of the videos, he takes questions from his listeners, and a 6-year-old had asked him, "What's the meaning of life?" And apparently, the answer to that was beyond what anyone had anticipated. So, I think he answered something to the extent. Let me see if I can skim through it and see if it gives me the answer. I don't think it does.
Well, yeah, no, I'm reading it now, Cuppy. He says he answered it such that the adults who heard it also had a moment of enlightenment.
Yeah, exactly. I had made notes originally on this, and I can't seem to find it, but yeah, it's quite interesting. And normally I don't find myself into philosophy very much because I find it very debatable and argumentative instead of informative. But this I found fascinating, and I thought that this would shed a lot of light and encourage people to ask questions. I think a lot of people shed away from that, and they really shouldn't.
I think this post is
one of the questions I was thinking of, do we know what the frogs are saying to each other?
They're asking what is the meaning of life.
Are you sure you're a boy?
Yeah.
It is intriguing as to why he's looking down his pants. Any idea why?
Curiosity. So it kind of fitting.
Yeah, I guess it made me ask the question, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And apparently, Linda said that we chose him twice last week. So this one seems to be a crowd favorite amongst the curator, that he always seems to catches our eye. So hopefully one of these days he'll make it out here.
Yeah, I think he'll do very well. If he carries on writing posts like this, I think you'll soon see his reputation increase quite considerably.
Mm-hmm.
Soon he's going to be too big for Whaleshares, because he's actually going to feature later on as well. So yeah, he's
really
he's dominating. But anyway, that's fine, because his reputation is 52, and as he gets higher, it will get harder and harder for him to get chosen. But yeah, no, great post by him, and the previous one as well before. I think that's what Steam it's about, isn't it? Finding the best content particularly this discussion, the best content you can, and enjoying it and learning from it. So yeah, it's all good. Who's next? I think Cotrin. You normally get third, don't you? Are you ready?
I can be. Well, what is it?
I was just going to say, before you go on, I've had one suggestion for what Cubby can talk about, but I need a few more.
Can it be philosophical?
It could be anything you want. I'm going to pick from a selection of them. But anyway, sorry, Cotrin, go ahead.
No problem. Anyways, this week I felt like I'm gonna pick something that's not actually articles about something, where people think about things and share their opinions about stuff. I thought that people who create things, like creators or artists, should also be rewarded. Anyways, this one is a tiny little painting thing. Let me grab the link. So in this post, this girl talks about sitting at a coffee shop and just like drinking coffee and thinking what she could write for Steemit. And I found it to be amazing that somebody in their regular life would just like do their thing and then think what they would do for Steemit to probably gain followers or just attract some attention to themselves. Even though like it looks kind of like a child would draw this, I feel like whoever did it, the lady who did that, should be rewarded for it, because it's something that she brings to the table.
I saw this one. I'm so glad that you chose it.
This is lovely. This is really nice. I mean, she's shown us how she got to that end product as well. You know, she's shown us her thought processes, how she arrived at the end product. It's great.
And it does not look like a child's drawing. It looks fucking amazing. Oh, sorry, guys.
The other reason I picked it is because she attached a picture of her cat at the bottom of the post, and I love cats, and it was like, okay, I cannot just like walk by this post. I gotta pick it. And if you look, there is at the bottom on the left, there is a little kitty sleeping on the saucer. I thought that was so cute too.
It is beautiful, isn't it? It looks like it's bursting with creativity. And it's interesting that you've chosen this, because I realise now we've tended to favour, how can I say, text-based Steemit posts. Obviously, you need some text, but things that tell stories and you read about. And this one is just, look what I made. But it's, yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? I'm very impressed by that. I particularly like the plant going up the handle, at the top.
And it is the thing that sometimes art takes more than writing, or at least the same amount of time, you know, and that should be appreciated as well.
Yes, absolutely. And there's lots of detail in here. She's divided that cup up. She's divided the cup into 4 segments, I think it looks like to me, which again gives it another dimension. It's really nice. Very, very nice piece of artwork.
And it could actually be a real cup, you know, you can actually print this on a cup.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I feel like there is not everybody on Steemit who can write good. English is not a native language for many of people, and if they can bring some value to the platform through their artwork or whatever, I think it should be noticed.
Definitely.
And I love how she divides it in two. So she has English and then she has in her native language. And that is phenomenal. I don't even know how to do that. And I love formatting. So that's awesome. I wish a lot of people who spoke more than one language would put both languages that they speak, even if one of them is not English. Sometimes when you translate a language from one to the other, you lose some of the meaning, some of the contents. But if you had another language as a reference, that would be helpful as well. And if you guys notice, just below where she put how to draw, there's 2 hashtags before it, but it didn't pick up. Sometimes you have to put a line above it, hit enter in order for the command to go through. Just an FYI for future reference. I did notice that further along, she did do that, and it still didn't work for it. And sometimes you just have to put an extra space in there or a different code in between that automatically puts a line that indicates that set of codes has ended and a new one has begun. And it sounds more complicated than it actually is. If you actually just Google it on Steemit, there's several other formatting tools. It's a matter of putting a greater than sign HR, a less than sign, and it will automatically allow you to put new code and accept that in there so you don't have the hashtag showing without the command going through. But nonetheless, I love the way she formatted it. I love the cats. I love the pictures. I wonder if she sells her work on Steemit, because that would be really cool.
I need to ask one last question, actually, and it's in relation to the Steam, the logo. Are we still using that, or has it changed to that green S type thing?
The currency is the old one, and the page is a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use both, basically.
Okay.
So the Steamy sign is for the cryptocurrency Steam, and the green thing is for the website Steemit.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
Keep in mind the new Steemit logo is copyrighted, so you can't just put it on a post in references. That was a thing as well. The old one you could use it without permission. The new one you cannot.
Oh no, I do it all the time.
I prefer the old one anyway, so it's not an issue, I don't think, for most people.
You're going to get dragged into court, Catherine. All your Steemit profits are going to get taken away.
Oh no!
Imagine that you work and you put the Steemit logo on your work, and then they are coming to you and they're saying, "Give us back our Steam because you put our logo on your post."
This is their master plan, perhaps. Get everyone to make loads of money on Steemit and then claim it back from all of us.
There it is.
Wow.
Anyway.
Steam, it's evil.
Maybe it's not the plan. Anyway, right. We're going to move on. Before I go on, I've got 3 suggestions for things for Cubby to talk about. I could do with a few more because one of them I can't say. It's a little bit crude.
Oh gosh.
So something that isn't obscene would be a good suggestion. And remember, you get 10 whale shares if I pick your suggestion. Right. Anyway, I'll present my post. Here we go. Hold on.
And if I survive, I get 1 million Whaleshares. Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no, it's not me. It's Acrid. Acrid's going to give you 1 million whale shares if you pull this off. Okay, so this was quite a short post, and I found it. Was this one earlier? No, I found the other one earlier in the week. Okay, so this is about a lady who works in a hospital, and it's really not complicated at all. All that happens is that it's a normal hospital work caring for people. They work in a dialysis centre, people with kidney problems. And they've implemented, she talks about how they've implemented a new system whereby once a week on a Sunday, the doctors and the nurses take their spare time and they spend it with the patients and the families of the patients. And they do this by sitting down and having a meal with them. And she stresses the importance of how you need to give. You don't have to give something of monetary value. You can also give your time and how much of a difference it can make, and how much of a difference it makes to these people. You know, some of them might not have friends or visitors, for example. But also, in a place, this is what I was thinking, in a place like a hospital, which can be cold and clinical and quite scary, to actually sit and talk to doctors and nurses as people socially must make a whole world of difference. So yes, I thought a brilliant post.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. That is a very nice post indeed. And they do that once a week, you say, Nick?
Yes, that's what they're doing at the moment. I think it's a trial scheme. Hold on, did I read that right? Well, it's something that's fairly new. But yeah, on Sundays. So a lot of people, you know, are busy on Sundays or want to do something else. But to go and sit for an hour with the people you're treating or with the people you're working with, and all sit down together, I think it's lovely. And it, you know, maybe it recreates something homely for people. Atwood is saying his home is cold, clinical, and quite scary.
For me, it's the compassion, you know, that people are ready to do this for others.
I wanted this post. You stole it from me.
I
I'm
came
quite good
upon
at
it
that,
as
aren't I?
well.
Getting in before everybody else. That's because I'm a master curator.
He always steals post. Always.
It comes to the
I
point
think he's
now
just
that I have to check the bottom once I find a new post to make sure no one else has stole it.
What's nice about this post is that obviously the medical staff there and all the healthcare professionals have got to get on with the job itself, but to then set aside, in addition to their schedules, another day or another hour to do this is really, really very nice.
And the author is actually here with us. Hopefully you can hear us and you can see all the lovely things that we've been saying about you. We really enjoy your post. We hope that you continue to write more about it.
This is. I didn't know where this was based before, but now mentioned that she's here. Yes, it's Neo Donata, who I believe said she was from Venezuela. So as we probably all know, Venezuela's got some issues at the moment with money and things, and perhaps this is particularly helpful in a place that's struggling, that people are giving their time. Maybe some of them haven't got money to give, so to go and give their time is particularly nice. But I should round off by saying it wasn't a long post. It wasn't a complicated post. It was just a short little story. This is what we do. Here's some pictures, and it was a nice, refreshing read for me.
yeah, and it was for me. It's all about the compassionate post, and it was something that captured you from the beginning to the end because it was something that showed you that humanity has heart.
Yes, that's true. That's true, Linda. Right, I think we're moving on to the fifth post, which is Linda. Oh, I should point out that Linda stood in this week because we had a guest curator who was Poetic Snake. She was, some of you might know her. She was ill, and so I asked Linda quite late today, could you do this for us? So she stepped in like a champion, and here she is.
Thank you, Linda.
It was earlier than the last week, so next week I'm gonna just be already prepared in case you need me. So I'm bringing something fiction like because some of you may know that I'm a fiction writer, but surprisingly I don't usually read a lot of fiction on Steam because it's kind of I write a lot of fiction and it seems tiring to just go into it over and over again. But this piece, however, was wonderfully refreshing for me. It was short. Again, it was not as long as some of the philosophical posts, which I see that we tend to choose much more, the philosophical ones and the real life things. But I think this is something that lets you sit down and enjoy a little bit of time, without engaging in the worries of the world. It is a simple but rich story in at the same time, so that's really cool. I really loved it because it was kind of something that you could read somewhere else, but unique in the writing anyway. And it is a short story set in future, far, far away, and it focuses on an world where there is spaceships involved and people exploring space. And the main event that happens is that over the radio they get informed that humanity has, I guess it's humanity, I don't know, maybe it's some aliens, but they get informed that all of the universe is explored and there is no other life form in the universe. And it's basically about it's a short chat between two brothers, I'm assuming, because they were talking about their father and everything, and a spaceship is involved, and it's kind of a thing that you could talk in every day, but it's set in the future, so it's exciting and it's something that you can look forward and be like, maybe this is something that's going to happen in the future, and that's why I really liked it. Yeah, and the name was not bad either.
We've got Sitso, is that how we say it? Sitso here. I think I've
Yeah, he's
talked to
here.
Sitso before a few times. In fact, I've seen some of his fiction work before, which I liked. And I'm just scanning through this quickly, but it looks good. It reads nicely.
It reads very
Yes, it
easily.
does. It reads lovely. I was just going to, I mean, that first sentence where it says Rusty sat under the cool shade of the porch watching mechanical chickens clucking and poking around the yard. It's like, what? What's going on here? You know, you're grabbed straight away.
But you know, it's still nonchalant. It's like an everyday situation, but it's like, what everyday situation? It's like you can read it like relaxed, and then you're like, wait, what did I just read?
Absolutely. It's, in fact, that's a really clever trick. You know, really great quality there.
Yeah, I liked how uplifting it was. You know, it was so simple, and it was just about two people interacting. No stars falling down, no skies falling down, no little chicken running around for the end of the world. You know, it's just easy to read, and it's really perfect piece for just letting it go.
I'm going to have another read of this one later on because I think it demands a bit of time from me. Yes, no, I think it's an excellent choice, and they're really good. Well done, Sitso. He's typing for us. So now we've all gone through once, and that's the halfway point, and now is also time for the DJ Chatterbox section. Now next week, what I'd like to do is have a ticking clock effect, so we can hear the clock going, and it would put a little bit of pressure on.
Oh my gosh.
Dramatic drum roll.
Maybe some, yeah, dramatic music as well. This week, it's just going to be timed by me, just quietly, and I'll tell Cubby when it's a minute. Anyway, the subject I've chosen from the ones that were submitted is the Flat Earth Society. Now, I don't know if Cubby knows anything about that, or if she can improvise, but we will now see what her fast-thinking brain is made of, and her DJ Chatterbox skills. So let me just get the stopwatch ready.
Okay, well, before you do, you'll have to say it one more time for me, hopefully.
The Flat Earth Society. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what that is, so this should be interesting.
Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Sure.
Well, yeah, it's a society
the
of people who...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Linda. You say.
Society of people who think that the Earth is flat, and they dismiss all the proof that it is not.
Alrighty then. And what is my assignment again?
You've got to speak for a minute without pause, without hesitation, without repetition, without letting us hear you take a breath.
Oh, wow.
You need to take one deep breath beforehand, and your minute starts now. Go.
So the topic today is about people who refuse to accept the idea that the world is flat, regardless of rhyme or reason. Well, the nice thing about opinion and thought, it's kind of like having, I don't know, a mouth. Everyone has one, and even if they're entitled to their opinion, no matter how wrong they may be, they're allowed to have one. Now, everyone has proof one way or the other, and they're allowed to think one way or the other. The nice thing about science, though, over the years we have noticed that science has a funny way of proving and disproving itself depending on the time, the year, and the opinion of the person who's sharing it right now, or the scientist. So, if they like it, if they don't, the world may be round, but who knows, folks, maybe one day we'll be saying the exact same thing as them. Call them crazy, call them futuristic thinking, call them stuck in their ways. They're just like me and you with their own thoughts and opinions. They're just refuse to change, and change is something that picks and changes everyone at one point or another, whether we accept it or not. Did I make it?
That's your minute. Yeah, brilliant. Just well done.
That was terrible.
That
was the worst thing ever.
Well done.
But
well
you
done.
know, this is a very serious movement. There's actually people who think that this is true. It's not some kind of joke. It's just it's really a real thing.
You know, now that you mention it, when you explained it, I was like, I've heard this somewhere else today or this week. And someone actually made a joke of someone who was that. And so I did actually look it up. And now that after you explain it, it came back that it is actually a real thing that people think that the world is flat. And I didn't read much more into it other than what the word meaning was. But
curators, can I have marks out of 10 for Cubby?
I'm going to give Cubby, I think I'm going to give her an 8. That was very good.
Okay. Well, you have to give your reasoning why you gave an 8, what it would take to be a 10. So.
What it would take to be a 10?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. Oh, you've got to be someone pretty special to get a 10.
Oh,
You
I am too special.
you have to be from the Flat Earth Society and defend the unpopular opinion for me to get the 10.
So what did I get from you, Linda?
7. A stable 7.
Tough crowd.
You know, because
Catherine?
I secretly believe that the Earth is on the back of a turtle.
Oh. But then the world wouldn't be flat, now would it? It would just be half round.
No, the turtle's back is flat.
Catherine, what's your mark for Cubby for this?
From 1 to 10.
Yes.
I'll give her a 10. I've never heard anybody else say anything like that. Not necessarily the words she used, but I don't remember us do this thing before. So I'll give her a 10. That's my first time.
Yes!
Because you spoke for the first time, we can increase it to 8.5.
Yeah, Cubby, I would give you a 9 for that. I was very impressed. I didn't think you'd do so well, and I thought at about 35 seconds you were flagging, you were going to stop, but you didn't at all. So yeah, brilliant job. So next week we need to get the ticking clock effect, and hopefully you'll do even better. You'll push onwards and upwards to better things. Anyway, Freedom, right? I believe it's your second post.
Okay, let me just put this up. Now, I hope I'm going to do justice to this because this is from, I think some of us do know Wandering Rose. She's a fantastic writer and she's completely undercredited. And I happened upon one of her posts and it's entitled Not Just Another Saturday Night. And what she's basically done is taken what appears to be an ordinary Saturday evening in her where she lives, and she's given us almost like a blow-by-blow account of what's happened during that evening. Now, you would think, well, okay, what's this about? But straight away, because of the way she writes, you're captivated immediately. She's such, the skill of her writing really shines through. And as I say, it's not like she's taken a trip weekend away in Paris or Egypt or somewhere. It's just in her hometown, and she's just enjoying a Saturday night with her, I think, her fella. I'm not going to say too much more than that, but it looks like what we call in Britain her fella. And if you look at the images, I mean, even the food they've cooked, it's all nice. The whole post oozes niceness. There's a gentleness about it. Again, that's testament to how well she writes. She's taken an ordinary Saturday evening, and like the post says, she's turned it into not just another Saturday night. Such is the quality of her writing, and she takes us through what she does. And it's in many ways it's simple, but because of the skill of her writing, she's made it very, very enjoyable to read, very effective, great writer. And as I say, the pictures, in terms of the presentation, lovely layout, nice sized paragraphs, beautifully written, and I think the right amount of photographs to really give us an insight into her Saturday night, which I assume was last week, which turned out to be not just another Saturday night. And the other reason I picked this is because I'm glad she enjoyed this Saturday night, because unfortunately Wandering Rose does suffer with migraines, and she suffered quite badly lately. So I'm pleased that she had a great evening out, and I'm even more pleased that she managed to create such a well-written post. So yes, this is my second post.
My favourite part of this post was the fact that she watched the Beastmaster and saw fit to tell us it, because it's such an underrated film. If you like things like Conan the Barbarian, the Beastmaster is really good.
For me, it's the food. I love pierogi, and that's the best thing ever. And I love food in general, so I'm kind of biased, but I love pierogi.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't quite know how to pronounce it, but thank you.
I think it comes from Russia. I mean, at least for us in Latvia, we call it pierogi because it's from Russian name. In Latvian, it's completely different.
Okay.
Pie. It means pies, but it's like kind of different. It's not meant big pies, but small pies. No, pierogi is Russian as well as Polish. Yeah, pierogi is Polish, but Russians say it the same, but they write it differently. Yes, that's true. But I think they say it the same.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Katrina.
I was just saying that the word pierogi is a Polish word, and if you say that, then it is Polish. And in Russia, they do say a different word. But this meal in particular, you can find it in China, in Japan, anywhere else. So they all have their word for it.
Yeah, just a different name, but it's all the same food. We have
Well,
the
whatever it's called, it looks delicious, and it doesn't surprise me because I think Wandering Rose or whoever cooked it. Because if you read the post, the efforts they went to creating stuff was quite extensive as well. I mean, the opening line sets the scene. You know, they went to their local winery. Oh gosh, it just sounds it's all pleasant. It all sounds so pleasant and nice. If you need to sort your head out, instead of listening to classical music, read this post.
Or just talk to Wandering Rose. I don't know if many of you have been in chat in other discords with her, but she is the most friendliest person you will ever have the pleasure of meeting. She is so kind and so sweet, greets everyone. It's always a pleasure to have her in the chat room because she is just phenomenal. That picture at the very end with her and her friend, and you could just ooze with, you just want to hug them both. They just look like such loving, adorable people, and that smile on her face just warms your heart. And that is her in a nutshell. I'm not surprised that her writing's like that. And she hasn't been on the platform very long. She's new, just like some of us here, less than a year. She's very generous and she always gives. She actually won an award with another Discord because of her generosity and her friendliness. And there's not enough good things you can say about her. And I'm so glad that you found that in her writing because she, as sweet as she writes, is as sweet as she is. And she is phenomenal. Huge fan. Love this post and I love her very much.
I've just spotted something unpleasant in this post. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble. If you look at the drink, it looks like there's some weird sediment in the wine. Can somebody clarify what's going on?
It was roofied. You don't have to question it.
It was what? Sorry, Kirby?
It was roofied. I'm just kidding.
What's roofied? What's that?
Oh, that's when you drug a drink.
Oh, okay.
That awkward
It's
moment.
caramel. Wandering Road is saying it's caramel.
So it's caramel with what's at the bottom? Is that the sugar in the caramel? Or?
Appletini.
Ah, okay. Now it looks good. Now I know what it is. I thought it was some wine with really bad sediment in, and I thought maybe.
What?
Don't be
Wandering Rose
silly.
hadn't noticed.
Cucumbers.
Don't be silly. Rose
Looks
would.
like cucumbers on the side.
Rose only enjoys nice wine. I'm quite sure of that.
But anyway, right. Should we move to let's move to Cubby's next post. I was surprised Cubby knew about roofing people.
Me too.
Tell us more about this another time. Anyway, so your second post, Cubby.
Yeah, and so ironically, my next post is a little on the naughty side of things, but I thought I'd mix things up.
Whoa.
I know this is probably something you would never expect me to read, much less to share about. But I thought that we should, be open to all sorts of things on the platform. And if it's good content, it's good content. And so the topic could be a little risque, as they like to say, but it is appropriate for work, although I don't recommend you reading
I
it at
might
work.
have to mute this one, I'm afraid. I might have to mute it because I have neighbours.
But it's not what you think initially. And the reason that I selected this at first, although they don't really talk about it on the post itself, is because more and more women are having challenges getting pregnant and having children. And they do a lot of hormonal treatments. They do a lot of timing. They do a lot of testing and that type of thing. They put a lot of pressure on women to discover why they cannot get pregnant. And I thought this was interesting because I think this put a little bit more focus on the male side of things to kind of time down their time of activity and to kind of break down the science of that. And although he doesn't bring that up in his post, that is what I thought of. And if I was married and trying to have children, this would be something that I would look into and have my doctor look into to see if there's any way we can sync this and try to find more information as to why we were having challenges in having reproducing. Although that has nothing to do with the post, it's what I thought of, and it's new technology. It's out there. I haven't heard of it before. That's not really talked about very often, at least not here in South Florida. But I thought it was interesting thing to look at. And if you're someone who's very curious and you love information and science and technology, well, this is all in one. So if you're looking to, break down into science your nightly activity, this may be one for the winning.
Does it have a camera in it?
No, it does not.
Phew.
I'm a little bit confused. Where does the thing actually go?
I don't know. I didn't think of that.
Well, it's a condom.
So
Where does it
looks
go?
just, it just looks like a ring thing. No, I don't. I'm just wondering
Is
where you would
anybody
put
here
it.
engaging in adult activities?
I think. I can't believe
It's
Cubby's
invisible.
chosen this.
It's from the future and it is invisible. You cannot see it.
Okay,
You can feel it, but you cannot see it.
It looks like some sort of alien technology, doesn't it? It's. I think it's.
I thought it was a tire when she first posted it.
I've got a different view of Cubby now.
yeah, me too. Not my
Who would
proudest
have
moments.
thought he's an adult?
Well, this is why I was trying to get Cubby to tell us where it goes, but she went quiet at that point.
Yep, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Right, let's move on.
Yes, please.
Catherine, are you ready to go?
Just a second.
So much pressure.
Okay, this post is about this person's trip to cloud forest in Thailand. This photography is not the best, but also this place is very foggy, so this could have been the reason why the pictures are not as vibrant as they would be if you went to a forest. But I thought this place was pretty cool, and I've never heard about it before until I read about it. That this is a rainforest, and it can be only found at elevations greater than 1,800 meters above sea level. And apparently, one of the Thai kings, was buried here at the summit. So overall, this person gives us a nice tour in these jungles. And there is a video from DTube of a waterfall. There are some birds and some statues. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby. I love that.
There's some lovely pictures here. Really, really nice. That mist as well really helps to create a mood about the pictures.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The person says that they were using their iPhone to take pictures, and you would expect even phones to take better photos these days, but given the environment where he was, like the high, so I'm not surprised the pictures didn't look as great.
I think if that's been captured with an iPhone, I think the pictures are absolutely fine. They're amazing. I also love the one with the waterfall.
Yeah, I don't think those pictures are particularly bad. I think they're good enough for a post. I think some of them look quite good.
They look very professional to me.
I would say the same. I'm surprised they were taken on the phone. I wonder if she edited it at all, or he.
Sorry, I was going to say there's a moving image one down towards the bottom, which is quite interesting as well.
There are some edited pictures here. There's like a photo of a bird. I think there is some filters, Photoshop filters applied to it, and I think there might be some other photo that's been edited. But other than that, they seem fine.
I like how dreamy they are because of the mist.
In fact, there are a couple of moving image ones towards the bottom with birds. Very nice.
Another reason why I picked this one is because I've never been to Thailand, and usually before I plan going somewhere, I would like to learn more about the place and what to do there. And recently, like, we were thinking about where we would want to go, and Thailand was kind of on the list, and I checked this out, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I love the name Cloud Forest. I've heard a lot about Thailand. I've never been myself, but I've heard a lot about it, and it does look a very enchanting place in some places.
Another top post. Before we go on, I should remind you that if you would like some free whale shares for attending this chat, just message me with your Open Ledger address and I'll get some sent to you. I believe the current payment is 5. If you need some help with Open Ledger or don't know what it is, message me and I'll talk you through it. We can set you up an account. So yeah, send me your addresses and you'll get some free whale shares just for listening in. Right, hold on, let me get the link for my next post. Okay, so I didn't know that someone else was going to pick Nograph, and this one I think I picked earlier on in the week, but we'll have to realize now Nograph will have to, am I saying it right? Nograph? Anyway, he will have to take a break from Whaleshares a bit because we can't have him winning too much. But as his, you know, it's nice to help him up, and he's got top quality posts, so to an extent he deserves it.
How many posts have we curated of him now?
I thought 1 last week by him, but perhaps it's 2. So in that case, then he's won 4 curation awards from us. But that's a testament to our picking skills, as much as anything, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, back to this post. Okay, so this to me is a more in-depth academic version of the one that Freedom posted earlier, which is about, it's basically about overcoming challenges. But in the style we now know that Nograph is good at, he comes at it with a very sort of deep level of information and knowledge, and from all sorts of different perspectives. So we've got references to popular culture in there. He talks about Freud, he talks about Jung, and essentially it's about overcoming obstacles in life. So he talks about self-sabotage as a thing that can stop people achieving things, or lack of determination is another thing that can stop you. For the determination, he shows a great clip from an American football film. Internal conflict is another thing that can stop people achieving their goals. And he references, I hadn't thought of this, Cain and Abel from the Bible, myth of Cain and Abel, as an example of this. So you know, that's another thing to look over and think, is that what that story, one of the aspects that story is telling us about, you know, 2 sides to every person that will be in conflict. And he also mentions emotional deprivation as well as a thing that can stop you achieving your goals. So there's an incredible amount here to read, and obviously I can't go through all of it because it's very dense. Yeah, I thought it was worth an upvote. Supremely well written, very informative, and another example of Nograph being a great new Steamian, a Steamit celebrity, as Sayodius has just said.
Yeah, this is just another example of this guy's work. I mean, it is, I have to say, it wouldn't surprise me if this guy might have been a psychologist or something, or is a psychologist, I don't know, because a lot of his posts are about psychological angles and psychological philosophies and theories, and he's really exploring them though with real practical examples, which is what's interesting. So he's probably gone through a lot of this stuff himself, and he's applying theory to his own journey, if you like. I think that what the great thing about this post, or one of the great things about this post, is the bit about the inhibitions arising from internal conflicts. And I think that's a really important aspect, because we kind of all have internal conflict at some stage. Sometimes we recognize it, sometimes we don't. We just you know, it's subconscious to us. But yeah, it's a fascinating post. He's a very intelligent guy.
And that video that he shares in the top is amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but it's a coach, and he has one of his players crawl down like that, and someone on his back, and he goes, "How far you think you can make it? I need you to go at least I think it was 100 meters, you know, or 50 meters. I think it was halfway. You just have to go." So he's there with him, yelling in his ear. He's like, "How much more do you have in you? How much more do you have? Can you go further? Can you keep pushing? Can you keep pushing?" And he just keeps crawling and crawling. And he gets to the point where he's like, that has to be at least 50. That has to be at least 50. That's all I have left. And the coach tells him, well, take your blindfolds off. And he's there on the floor gasping for air. And he takes it off and he's made it all across the field. And it kind of encompasses his entire writing. And so, he's an amazing writer. He proves his point really well. He writes his point really well. And he does an excellent job of finding outside sources to support his idea too.
That's a good point, Cubby. He doesn't just say what he thinks. You know that he's drawing on authority when he writes something, and he lets you know why he said that and where he's got it from.
Very knowledgeable. Yeah, even to reference the Bible it's interesting.
Yeah, I think this guy has a lot of levels to him. There's a lot of layers maybe to him.
He's like an onion.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, Nerguf, have we got a consensus on that? That's how he's pronounced. I feel like I'm not saying it right. Anyway, Nerguf.
You're gonna learn it.
Nerguf has taken up a lot of our time now. It's been justified, but now we need to move on. But before we do, I'll remind you, if you want free Whaleshares, I need your address, and I need to have it quite soon. Okay, here's some more coming in. Perfect. Right. Linda, I believe you've got our last post. Are you ready?
Oh, it's me again. Hello.
It is. You're up. Don't disappoint.
Okay, this post is has one message, and that's stop obsessing about others and just do you. And I think it's a very popular thing that we tend to do. We obsess about others and we compare ourselves to others. And I am guilty of this as well sometimes, but over the years it has become a little bit less. But still, I have some of those pangs of jealousy, and then I feel guilty about it, and I feel like angry about it or at myself because I shouldn't be jealous of somebody else's success. So I think this is a very good post that brings our attention to our demons in a way, and how we like to compare us to others, and how we like to say I have more than you. And it mentions how children are like how we look at children, and it seems silly when they say I have one dinosaur, and the other one says I have 10 dinosaurs, and then the first one says but I have infinity dinosaurs. And it seems silly when we look at children, but we do the same. We are like, when we meet somebody who from our high school or from somebody we haven't seen in a while, we're like, how are you doing, and what's with your work, and all those questions are about what are you doing, what status do you have in life. And basically we ask those questions to compare ourselves. And if I think it's very popular to not actually say what you actually think, but just try to be better than the next person. And I think that's something that we should get over. And this post is a great explaining greatly why you should not do this. And it covers two topics. If you are obsessively competitive, it's when you are competitive in work environment, or obsessively comparative, like you're comparing yourself to others. And it also says that it's not bad to have a little bit of competition, but you should never be like envying somebody for what they have, because life is not a huge competition. You can have something good as well. And I like that in this post, that it's kind of stands on both sides, leaning on the don't be obsessive part more, but also saying that competitive to some point is good because it pushes you. And I like the balance of it.
Very good.
Very good.
It is, and do you know what? It touches on one of those things that you're asked at interview if you're applying for a job often, and they say to you, "Now, would you consider yourself to be a competitive person?" And you think, well, hang on a minute, you're asking that question. I mean, I'm assuming, therefore, they think it's a quality, and a lot of employers do think that's a quality, by the way. I don't think it is, though. And it's one of these really misinterpreted, wrong sort of, I don't know, philosophies that have developed in businesses and employers. And it's really quite unhealthy, I think. We shouldn't be competitive all the time. As you say, Linda, a bit of competition, fine. But a lot of
Some
employers...
competition, not alliance then.
Exactly, but a lot of employers don't see it that way. They don't see it. They don't. They think that competition, being competitive, you should be like that all of the time, and it's not the right approach.
This is actually a post Poetic Snake chose before she said she couldn't come, but it's actually something that's actually close to me, because I know that I need to battle my demons in that area as well, because I have envied people for something I shouldn't, and I realize it afterwards, but I'm like, I still have that feeling, and that really brings me down, and I'm just trying to work on that, and I like that it's brought to our attention, that we have those issues and that we can deal with.
I think that one of the best ways to summarize this post, and it's done it itself, actually. It says it in that graphic. A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. That's spot on.
Exactly. That's really nice. Yes, I really like that one as well. It's in the middle if you're looking, guys, the black one.
I looked at that one too, but for some reason it reminded me of planting sunflowers in my backyard, and then my husband telling me don't plant them too close to each other, they're gonna be competing for the sunshine.
Yeah, that's actually true that some plants do this. Some plants do compete.
I was going to say, I like, of course, the way she formats it in, emphasizing each topic. And she keeps saying over and over, if you are obsessively competitive, if you are obsessively comparative. And the key point here, I think, is obsessively. You don't want to be one extreme to the other. In my field of work, I work in sales. And so competitiveness is something that they need in order for you to be successful in the career and with the sales force that I work with. So you don't necessarily want to be obsessed with competition, because when you have a bad day or you don't meet quota or you're not a superstar that particular day, it can really have some terrible consequences on how you perform at work. And so it's very balanced. And I like how she points that out, to where even if you are an extremely competitive person, if it comes to the point of obsession, you've lost the ability to even be competitive, because you've lost perspective in anything. And as Accurate has typed into chat, everything is dangerous in excess, and it's very true. So I would argue that competitiveness is a great thing. It's a good thing. It's a necessary thing. And depending on the job, it is a requirement thing. And if they're asking for it, you should be honest on whether you have it or not. But obsessiving about it is what's dangerous.
Yeah, I agree that it's always about balancing it out, and obsessive nothing is good in excess. But there are some places where you don't need to be competitive. I mean, there's always in work, there's always some kind of competitive environment, but some places require more competitiveness and some places that require less. It's like when you're working in a police force, it's better when you can work together instead of thinking who is gonna catch more bad guys.
Yeah, it's true. I really like this writer as well. Another one of my friends had received another one of her posts, and I like that one as well. And even though her reputation is 65, you would think with someone with that much reputation points, she must get a ton of votes. But an excellent article like this made less than $4. And so it's always good to balance it out. Just because you have a high reputation doesn't necessarily mean that your content is getting the attention that it deserves necessarily. So really great choice. I'm glad Poetic Snake found it. I'm sad that she's not here today, but I'm glad that you shared it with us.
Brilliant. I enjoyed that, but I can be obsessive, but I'm not competitive, so I didn't need any help on that. It's a different kind of personality, I suppose. Like, you said you work in sales. My sister works in sales. Used to, before she had children, and she said there were always battles, people falling out. If they went out for drinks, who could drink the fastest, who could drink the most. And it's very much the nature of the beast of being a salesperson.
It's
Is
quite
that something
true.
you?
In my position necessarily, I'm an account manager, and so sales is a very minimal part of my job. It's more of a choice if I choose to be it. But the accounts that I manage, it comes from the sales force, and they bring on the new business. And some of them are more competitive than others, but they're all competitive in their own ways, and each of us are with it. So when we go out to drink for happy hour or anything like that, we're not trying to see who can drink the most, the fastest, or anything like that because we're not college students anymore. But I do have one coworker that whenever she's eating with us or she's playing a game, she is the one that's always the most extreme. She's like, I don't know what it is, but I'm always super competitive around other people. So like if I'm eating in a group, sometimes I'll eat the fastest just because I have to finish first, or I always have to win the game if I play it. So there's certain aspects like that that I do see in some of the salespeople in themselves, that they are a bit obsessive and compulsive and crazy. But they're also extremely successful in their careers as well, and they have learned to find that balance in their own careers.
Are you sure you didn't get into a frozen rosé competition?
You know, after the fourth one, I was definitely like, all right, thanks, kids, but we are not buying another round of drinks because.
Hang on a minute. Hang on.
On the company budget.
Well, no, our managers bought us two, and then we decided to stick around. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll probably just have one more. And then one more ended up being two more. And by the time we went to the second bar, I was like, all right, I still have to drive home, so we're not going to do that. But I was oh so very relaxed.
I'm sure you were.
It was delicious. It was like eating ice cream. It was just so delicious. Dangerous, isn't it?
So it wasn't really your fault then, was it?
No, absolutely not. If anything, we should blame Acrid. Acrid, you sound like it was your fault that this happened. Can you
I
tell?
blame
Blame
Acrid, I
everything
think.
on Acrid.
Okay, blame Acrid. I think that's a lovely note to end the show on. And let me remind you, if you want free whale shares and you've listened in, send me your address and I'll get some sent out to you. If you need to know what Open Ledger is to get address, tell me, and I'll sort that out for you as well. And what we're going to do now is take everybody's mute off, so we can all have a big chat if you would like. Or last time I think Linda has sang for us. So Linda, are you going to maybe sing this time? Krista might come in a bit.
No.
Nick, before you do that, is it okay if everyone says goodbye so I can end the recording?
Of course, yeah. Sorry, let's do that then.
All
So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And from me, bye bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye, everyone. Till next week.